My tanks got neglected for months after getting hit by a drunk driver, and you won't believe what happened. Welcome back to iSealive. My name's Mark. In my last video, I updated everybody here about getting hit by a drunk driver while I was walking on the sidewalk. After the accident, my tanks suffered because I was not able to keep up with my normal maintenance routine. Each of the tanks went through several months without a water change, and you'll be super surprised as to what happened. I'll start with the most recent setup and one that you've only seen briefly, and that's the innovative marine 20-gallon Peninsula. I won't spend a lot of time on this one because it's going to get covered extensively in several videos to come. This tank is a work in progress as I'm doing several customizations and making some rather unique things for it, but after the accident it basically just sat here as the water evaporated. I did use the tank briefly as an emergency tank when my friend Christian's tank started crashing and his anemones were melting away, but that is for an upcoming video. I'm going to go ahead and move on this one because you're going to see a lot more of this tank soon. Next up is the Fluval Spec 5, which was formerly known as Squiggledorf's tank. Unfortunately, Squiggledorf is no longer with us, and this tank is now home to an aggressive coral-banded shrimp named Candy Cane. Back to Squiggledorf. Overall, it was an awesome experience living with an octopus, and I really wish I had more video of Squiggledorf, but she would only come out at night when the light was off, and I couldn't pull my phone out because the light would spook her. I would typically see her around 11 o'clock or midnight, and I would hand feed her and kind of play around with her for a little bit. She appeared to be doing great until one day she went into the rock and didn't come out again. The Fluval Spec 5 was supposed to be a temporary tank while I got the innovative marine 20-gallon Peninsula set up and ready for her, but that never happened. After she retreated to the rock, I could still get her to accept food as she would stick her tentacles out of the holes, although I would usually see the food floating somewhere in the water in the morning, and it was pretty clear that she hadn't eaten it. Squiggledorf was with us for about 6 months until the tentacles stopped coming out of the rock, and it was clear that she had passed. It's hard to say exactly what the reason was, but I'm hoping that her life cycle had run its course. After her passing, I was given a coral-banded shrimp that completely took over the tank. This dude runs the show and attacks everything. I have a few small hermit crabs and a snail, and Candy Cane, the shrimp, is always harassing them. This tank has a few corals, but they've really been struggling to get into their stride, and it has an algae growth problem that is super annoying because I can't really get anything to eat it, so I keep having to groom the rock. There's just these super cheap corals, and they seem like they're kind of frozen in time. They aren't growing, and they also aren't dying. They're mostly the same after 6 months. I have a plan to make some revisions on this tank and try to really get it back on the right path. Next up is a custom nano tank that I've been working on. This is the iSealive pod. I have several videos coming up in the future on this tank, and it's doing extremely well with very little maintenance over the last several months. In fact, the anemone just split, which I'm covering in the next video on this channel. Moving on to the Waterbox Peninsula Mini, this tank is doing both excellent and terrible at the same time. The coral is exploding with growth, and I have a nuisance algae problem and a red planaria flatworm infestation that is the worst I've ever seen. The interesting part about the flatworms is that they really aren't causing much of a problem, but they still need to go. I got a 6-line RAS in the hopes that it would do something, but it's done absolutely nothing. I could do a chemical treatment, but I'm worried that the population of these red planaria is so high that I might nuke my tank even after I remove as many as possible and get ready to do a water change right after the chemicals were added. These things are toxic, and the tank probably has a population in the 6 figures. So I have a question for you. What do you think I should do? Medicate or try to treat it with a natural predator or something else? Leave a comment and let me know. And also you can join the iSealive Discord, which I've left a link in the description if you'd like to go ahead and chat about this topic. The second problem in this tank is the turf algae. It's super thick and really hard to get off the rock. I pick it and cut it, and this stuff is tough. I think the coral and anemones on the rock have actually helped to suffocate it slightly, so it's getting a little bit better, but I need to go ahead and get this stuff taken care of too. So if you have any suggestions, please leave a comment or join the Discord. Beyond this second problem, the tank is doing great. My frag rack is completely overgrown with zoanthids, and I need to go ahead and take care of that, but they look awesome. And the anemone just split and the clowns are happy. I don't really want to do anything drastic to the tank, and that's why I haven't done the chemical action on the red planarias, but everything is growing well. I'm hoping that I can slowly chip away at these two problems over the next several months to kind of get them to resolve themselves. Last but not least is the tank that's been up and running for the longest, and that's the Fluval Evo 13.5. This tank is thriving. This is the first tank that I set up on this channel, and believe it or not, I think it really liked that I got hit by a car, so I couldn't stick my hand in this tank over the last several months. After several months of doing nothing, this tank looks amazing. And in fact, the anemone split and my clowns started spawning. It just goes to show you that sometimes doing less in a tank is actually more. I've found that not freaking out about any minor issues and making drastic changes tends to be the best course of action for the most part. Beyond some really minor maintenance, I don't really have any future plans for this tank. This tank is doing exactly what a little Nano Reef tank is supposed to do, and I think it's successful mostly attributed to the tank being well balanced. It has a lot of live rock and kind of a small water column. It has a very low bioload with just 2 clownfish, a blenny, a brittle star, 2 snails, and some hermit crabs. It's loaded with coral to the point where algae can't really find a place to take hold, or there's some very minor spots, and the filtration is enough to go ahead and keep up with the excess nutrients so there isn't any spikes. Last, I don't know for sure, but I suspect that it has an excellent microbiome of beneficial bacteria that is preventing the outbreak of dino, cyano, and even other nuisance algae. Overall, this is what reefing is really about, as having a tank that's doing really well and is low maintenance keeps me passionate about the hobby. But just as many of you are never content, neither am I. So let's check out some of the future projects that I've got coming. Starting with the super popular eShops Deskmate, I'm in the process of tricking this thing out, which is going to be a future video, and I'm gifting it to a first-time reefer, my friend Ramit. As you can see, I created a roller mat filter along with some other filtration gadgets, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this thing off with a custom printed aquascape. Next up, this one is still in the box, and it's the classic BioCube 16-gallon. I've had a ton of people ask me to make stuff for this, so I just figured I'd go ahead and buy it. I'm going to trick this thing out and give it away, so stay tuned to figure out how you can get a chance to get this tank. Saving the best for last, I just got a Red Sea Max Nano Peninsula, but my wife said no more tanks, so I'm going to go ahead and gift this to a friend that is in well need of an upgrade. You'll see in an upcoming video that my friend Christian had a tank crash, and we were able to save some, but he lost over 30 anemones. So I'm going to go ahead and surprise him with this Red Sea Max Nano. Totally tricked out, including a roller mat, some filtration gadgets, and a totally unique aquascape that is going to be mind-blowing. This is actually going to be a new theme on this channel. I'm going to go ahead and keep buying tanks, but my wife won't let me have any more, so I'm going to donate them or give them away to people on this channel. I just covered the next 3 tanks that I'm going to go ahead and work on, so if you have a suggestion or there's a certain type of tank that you'd like to see, go ahead and leave it in the comments or join the Discord. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you live in the next video.